Airbnb. You know the name, but do you know if it's worth investing in? Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? My name is Matthew, and today we are talking all things Airbnb, ticker ABNB. Give me the format. First, as always, a quick overview of the business model, competition, etc. Second, a look at their juicy financials. Third, a look at their previous valuations during private funding rounds compared to now. And finally, fourth, what am I going to do? No time wasted. Let's get right into it with part one, an overview of their business, competition, and more. Let me open this video by blowing your mind just really quickly. Facebook doesn't need to make any content. Uber and Lyft don't need to own any cars. Airbnb doesn't need to own any homes. The point is, Airbnb has a massive advantage over hotels, the fact that it's a capital-light business model with incredible scalability. And we all know the key to many great investments is proven scalability. For example, if a hotel wants to add 1,000 rooms, it's going to need to put up a ton of capital to build a new building. If Airbnb wants to create 1,000 new listings, it just needs to find 1,000 people willing to rent out their pre-existing space. Alright, so the first question is, how does Airbnb actually make their money? Now, obviously, it's through renting out different spaces and their experiences, but when they're renting, when does Airbnb actually take the cut, and how much do they usually get? Well, when a house is listed and booked, both the host and the guest pay a fee that goes to Airbnb, and a portion of it turns into revenue. So really quickly, as an example, in this $100 listing, the host pays $3 in fees, and the guest pays $12, giving Airbnb a total of $15 in service fees that is collected at booking and recognized at check-in. To see this at scale, 2019's gross booking volume of $38 billion resulted in $31.3 billion in host revenue and $5.3 billion in fees that went to Airbnb. Airbnb also has experiences that you can sign up for, and now they also have online experiences, and I think these could both be major growth catalysts for this company in the future. As of now, their bread and butter is the hosting and renting, but imagine what other areas of travel that Airbnb has the power to disrupt with their network effect. What other rare or valuable or authentic traveling experiences can they bring to travelers around the world? They have 7.4 million available listings of homes and experiences, and 5.6 million are active listings. They're available in about 100,000 cities in over 220 countries, generating again 38 billion in gross booking volume. To put that into perspective, the global hotel industry is a $525 billion industry made up of 18 million rooms approximately. Now it's time to compare it to competition. A natural first thought is to compare it to hotels. So I looked at both hotels and Airbnb for the same random weekend in December, and as you scroll you can see comparable prices from other hotel booking sites, and everything seems to be in the $100 to $130 or $140 range. But if we start looking at Airbnb, prices are like $75 to maybe $100 or $110, and sure, you can find a super cheap motel for probably $40, but I feel like the quality of these Airbnbs is at least respectable compared to the hotels we see here. And with the illness now leaving a scar on society's social minds, I would not be surprised if people from here on out started to prefer an isolated private stay at a house rather than a trip to a hotel where there's constant contact and proximity with and to other people. Other competitors include Booking.com, which is the largest vacation rental platform in the world as it owns the likes of Priceline and Kayak, and Expedia, which owns the likes of Vrbo or VRBO and HomeAway. Based on some preliminary research, it seems like HomeAway is in a different niche than Airbnb. VRBO seems to have less revenue streams than Airbnb and way less listings, but Booking.com does seem like it could offer stiff competition, so that would probably be an area of further diligence. As a whole, the travel and tourism industry will generate an estimated $447 billion in revenue in 2020, which is a big decrease of nearly 35% from the previous year. Specifically for Airbnb, however, the total nights and experiences booked is down just 28% year over year, which isn't great, but it's not as bad as the rest of the industry. And you have to give them credit for a strong rebound since the lows of 2020 when it was down 67% year over year. When we speak specifically about the short-term rental industry, we can see that short-term rentals actually outperformed hotels in October, but in select cities for this particular study. So not everywhere, but in Philly, Nashville, and Miami, short-term rentals saw occupancy rates of 70, 58, and 83%, while hotels hovered around 40 to 49% in those same areas. And again, this might be proof that private homes have become favorable over the more public hotels. Airbnb also showed resilience this year as their active listings stayed relatively flat. They had 5.7 million active listings in December of 2019 before everything happened, and still 5.6 million in September of 2020. So hosts are by no means abandoning the platform in droves. So now we know a bit about the industry, the other players involved, how the Rona affected everyone, and how Airbnb responded. Now let's get into part 2, the juicy financials. Looking at their income statement, in their first 9 months of 2020, Airbnb certainly struggled for obvious reasons. In an effort to cut back on costs, their biggest cutback was definitely sales and marketing, but even that was not able to save them from a pretty big net loss that was assisted by a larger than usual interest expense as well. However,
hold up. Wait a minute.
Airbnb has dramatically increased the liquidity on their balance sheet with almost 4.5 billion in cash on hand and good liquidity with 2.8 billion in working capital, which is calculated by doing current assets minus current liabilities. And on top of that, more evidence why it seems like Airbnb should be able to easily make it out of this predicament: their free cash flows. If you don't already know, free cash flow represents cash gained or used from business operations minus property and equipment expense. It just gives a clearer idea of where cold hard cash is actually moving within a business, therefore it's often a good measure of profitability. Anyways, Airbnb has actually been generating positive free cash flow for many years now, since 2016 in fact. This shows that Airbnb is actually a very profitable business. Given that they've always been looking to expand their business, I am not shocked to see some negative quarterly free cash flows. But the second they needed to cut spending, within 2 quarters, boom, 328 million in free cash flow. They have a very powerful lever that they seem to be able to pull. If Airbnb was still burning cash and they did not have the ability to decide, okay, we need to make some money this quarter, then I'd be concerned. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And before we talk about the valuation, really quickly to wrap this part up, Airbnb's financials are telling me that it shouldn't be a problem for them to get things back on track. Now, this was definitely more than just a bump in the road. However, the power of their brand, the affordability and perceived safety that Airbnb homes offer while traveling, and their ability to generate substantial free cash flow in the future make me very confident in their near-term and long-term fundamentals. Now it's time for part 3, a quick look at their valuation. Their expected IPO valuation was recently moved up to $42 billion. Now, given the track record of hot IPOs this year, this might get bid up really quickly. If we look a few years back, we can see that in 2017, Airbnb did their Series F round of funding and the company was valued at $31 billion. So between 2017 and now, Airbnb's valuation increased by about 11 billion, or roughly 35%. And that kind of makes me wonder, perhaps Airbnb is not as overvalued as a lot of people are making it seem. If it wasn't for what's happening in the world right now, I'm sure this IPO would be coming out at a much higher valuation. From 2017 to 2019, Airbnb grew their revenues by over 87%. They're a founder-led, maturing unicorn with a strong moat and powerful network effect. They're an incredibly recognizable brand with incredible scalability built into their business model. And lastly, the company has proven for years it can be profitable, and it still has so many more growth catalysts that are yet to be seen, developed, and used. Now it's time for part 5. What am I going to do? Right now, I like this company enough to where the game plan is get in a little bit on IPO day, build out a little bit of my intended position, and then kind of wait and see what the price action does. If it goes lower, I'll start nibbling. If it goes higher, I may have to average up. But if it falls below a market cap of $31 billion, I'll probably start to add more heavily because I think, and it sounds cheesy, but long term, it'll be great. And let me elaborate. Yes, this near-term headwind of the illness and what's going on in the world right now is definitely going to be a hard thing to sit through. However, in the end, I think the world will be able to solve this problem and Airbnb will return to the growth that we were seeing before. This isn't just a, oh, long-term it'll be fine. This is a calculation of the likelihood that Airbnb will be able to survive this and thrive thereafterward. Of course, all top-tier patrons will be alerted the second I make any trades, as well as all the other benefits like secret videos from me. So if you're interested, first link in the description below. If you found any value in this video, and I hope you did, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and check out our quote of the day. You might just learn something. Make sure to follow me on Instagram for daily posts about my portfolio, stocks I'm watching, and all that good stuff. If you're watching at this point in the video, you are the real MVP. Don't forget your peace and thank yous.